Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to go and cover more about lighting and some rendering. So what I'm going to do different is I'm going to introduce HDRI light domes, or you know, global illumination using HDRI images. So what is HDRI images? HDRI images. All right, so this is like a HDRI image, high dynamic range images. So what they do is they get a 360-degree, perfect example. They get a 360-degree image, HDRI image, or also known as raw image, where it has what do you call that? The 32-bit color depth. If you're not too familiar with image, I guess, format and technology, images come more than just a JPEG. You know, digital images, they when they're captured through the camera, they can capture the raw image, basically uncompressed, full range, full color range, light range. Should I say light range? But full range of colors, because there's 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit. So, for example, I believe your typical JPEG image that you just copy and you just download off of websites is a JPEG. When you take pictures, usually it's saved as a JPEG, but nowadays you could also save it as a raw image for, like, I guess for your smartphones. Gives you that option. And when you save those images that are the high range, high quality images, the file size is large. That's how you can easily tell. And so, that's what they did. This here is still a JPEG, but it just shows that they take I believe, a tripod, maybe, I'm not too sure. And like I mentioned before, they take a 360-degree capturing the image snapshot or whatever, and when they put that into a 3D lighting and rendering system like Arnold, Arnold will use that data information, that 32-bit color range, and literally throw light and energy into the scene. Or, for example, this shader ball is fully metallic, fully reflective, and it's capturing what's reflecting. This sphere is reflecting the surrounding environment image, and you see it here, but this one is not completely reflective. This one here is like a glass and reflective, like a glass marble, glass sphere, and this one's more of a matte. And you can see here, that's what we call reflections, and possibly caustics, or maybe caustics, could be caustics too. So yeah, this one is, there you go, some of this. Yeah. So then there's stuff like this, where this can be generated. There's software out there that will generate it for you, and it captures the high dynamic range. Let's see what, let's type out 32-bit image range. No, doesn't really say. Yeah, maybe it won't. I have to dig deeper. Anyway, so previously you guys were using Arnold's what do you call that, the physical sun and sky, and that's a good starting point to introduce you to global illumination. It's a good starting point. But now let's move on to the next phase, which is, like I said, HDRI, high dynamic range images that are 32-bit color range. Let me see, let's try one more time. All right. Okay, here. Well, is it perfect? Well, yeah. Well, so this scale gradient shows 8-bit, and then 16-bit color range is like TIFF. 32-bit, which shows the full range. I seen better example. Okay, right here. This is supposed to be 8-bit color range, high bit depth, and then low bit wide gamut, wide high. Yeah. Here, some more ideas on the color range, like 8-bit, 16-bit, and then there's going to be 32-bit, where you have a broad range gradient of colors. 8-bit, 16-bit. Where's 32-bit? Come on. Nope. So when I need it, it's not here. I mean, it's good to know what these are. All right, come on. 32-bit, not the best. Whatever, I give up. All right, so, yeah. So previously, you guys were working in physical sun and sky, which is fine. You know, good introductory. But like I said, we're gonna start using HDRIs. Okay. So you know what? Let's do a compare and contrast. Gonna Arnold. Make sure we're under rendering. Rendering tab. Arnold. Lights. Physical sky. Alright, you don't have to do this. I just want to compare and contrast. I'm going to set the exposure to 1.5. My samples to 2 for the shadows. Exposure. Don't mess with the intensity. And that's about it. And I'm going to do a render. I'm going to lock my camera for now. Go to Arnold. Open Arnold render view. And then look at my render settings. Windows. Rendering editors. Render settings. Don't use this one. This one is Maya's render view. Do not use that. Okay, so anyway, render settings, Windows, rendering editors, render settings. Boom. All right, so I have CPUs on. Fine, that's good. 4, 3, 2, samples. Samples means the quality of the image. Right now we're at default 4322. You don't need to know about this too much for now. Ray depth. This means how many times the light will bounce. Should I show that right now? Not necessary right now. I think I might even show it in the other tutorial. So 2 and 1. Before, I think this might have been 1 by default. If you have set this to 2. I don't know if it was 2 or 1, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to my view, test resolution, 50%. Well, you don't have to do this. I have mine set differently from default. Mine set is to 1080 HD, but for students and by default, this is set to where the hell are you? Come on. 960 by, so where is it? Whatever. 960 by 540 was it? HD 540. Yeah. Anyway, this is what you probably have. 960 by 540. It's a small render size, but it's just good enough. Ignore this. I'm gonna go pause the video and then I'm gonna replay it. Alright, so here's the render. Took me, if you look here, 25 seconds. I saved the snapshot with this guy right there. And this is what it looks like. Okay. As you can see, there's some noise in the shadows. And this is what it looks like. Now, I'm gonna put in the HDRI. So I'm gonna delete my AI Sky Dome Light 1. This is the Arnold Physical Sun and Sky. Right here. Physical sky. Anyway. Alright, delete it. Now I'm gonna put in under this is hybrid shade, which is right here. Arnold lights, sky dome light. This is for the to pump in the HDRI image. Previously we had this, the physical sky. Physical sun and sky, okay, the one that you guys were just you guys are using up until now. And this is what we're gonna put in, sky dome light. Arnold light sky dome light. Click it. Here it is. All right. And I don't need my hypershade for now. But it looks like it's the same thing. AI sky dome light, right? So don't be confused. This is, for whatever reason, they just named it the same thing, you know. So anyway, but it's different because over here, AI Sky Dome Light 1, under the color, we're gonna click on the checker box, create render node. So I need a file node. File node, just like a texture image, but different because when I click on the folder, under source images, type, you know, you could do type. This is what EXR file. So the one I'm going to use is this one, EXR, and it's a 4K image. The difference between 1K and 4K image is that the reflections that you get off of a 4K image is going to be a better quality reflection versus a 1K image. Less pixelation from what I remember when I did my testing. But anyway, so that's 4K. EXR. EXR is another form of high dynamic range, lossless, uncompressed. Just captures all the color range. EXR. In Photoshop, you can't really open it or do much with it. You need like a plugin. But in After Effects, it's more ready to go, just for technology and sharing technology, information, software, FYI. Anyway, 4K image, open it. Here it is. I'll name it 4K HDRI image. Just to label things. If you look down here, it says here raw, color space, raw, meaning uncompressed, full range of colors. Other texture images would say sRGB. That's for a more of an advanced class. sRGB is just a fancy word for JPEG. Anyway, so all right, I pumped it in. I'm going to do a render. I'm going to pause the video. Oh, I forgot. I need to set my exposure. I'll set it to 1.5. Just like the physical sun and sky. I'm going to set my samples to 2. And now I'm going to do a render. Alright, so here it is. It's a massive difference. This is a AI physical sun and sky. That's computer generated global illumination. And this is a high dynamic range image. Yeah, huge difference. Same exposure settings too. And it's almost too bright. Yeah. So that's the difference. Massive difference. With this, let's do our first rounds of revisions for lighting. So I saved the image, right? Before, after. And I also locked the camera temporarily so I don't move it by accident. Oh, I moved the sky dome light by accident. And this is the HDR image, because when I pop open the hypershade, and here it is. And let me just clear it away for now. This 3 stars. Always going to review. And I select it here, right? Then I go click on this guy right there. Boom! It shows as input and output connections. It shows. So here's my Quantani 4K AXR HDR image attached to my Sky Dome, which is here, Sky Dome. Set to exposure at 1.5. Let's set it to 1.25, or maybe set it to 1. Yeah, let's set it to 1. Samples at 2. Shadow samples, shadow quality. And I'm going to do a render. And before I do that render, I'm going to want to do this. Update full scene. Sometimes Maya doesn't update for whatever reason. That's the reason why. And now I'm going to do the render. Alright, so here's the render. I have it saved here. This is previously where it was kind of blown out. With the exposure at what, 2 or no, 1.5. Now I dropped the exposure back down to just 1. So before getting blown out pretty bad, and now more manageable. Manageable meaning that when I start to add more lights, I'll still have room to make things brighter. Because if I start adding lights off of this, it's just gonna blow out the scene. This, I can start adding lights more with a more better chance without it blowing out so quickly. Anyway, so this is the very first render. This is HDR image at exposure at 1. So blown out, getting more blown out, and just enough. Huge difference regardless. But we don't have my my shadows as much. I mean, there's shadows over here. Let's take a look at how the HDR image looks like in the render. So I'm gonna unlock the camera. I'm gonna turn my this way so you guys can see it. See? So here's my sphere. Super neat. So it's throwing all, and here's the sun throwing this way. This way. See? Yeah. Super neato. Even underneath and above. Jeez. Technology these days. Anyway. Okay. Oh. Also, see, I can't see underneath. Back face culling. I'll always remind about that. Someone's gonna forget. So I have to always remind. Alright, so I want to put in fill lights. So alright. So let's do some basic vocabulary. Here's your object. Right? The camera's going probably this way. This is from the top down. This is your key light, meaning your main light. This is your backlight and fill light. So you get more of a balanced lighting. So this would be probably considered your key light onto your main subject. Camera, key light. Right. This is the top down. Camera's going this way. Key light is at a 45-degree angle. Doesn't have to be 45, but you know it's not parallel with the camera, because if your key light was this way and facing this way, it's gonna make the image flat. Right. Key light, camera, so you get an angled shot. You got a little shadow there. All right, 3-point lighting. Camera, fill light, key light. Fill light is weaker than the key light. Brightest light, good. Fill light, placed on the opposite side of the key light to fill in any shadows the key light may create and is dimmer than the key light. Backlight, placed behind the subject to add a separation between the subject and the background, right? 3-point lighting, 1, 2, 3. Backlight, key light, fill light. Yeah, fill light, key light, backlight. Also, backlight, also known as rim light. Oh, good. bounce light, where the key light comes in and it bounces off the surface. The light bounces off the surface and illuminates anything right underneath it. See? You see over here it's still kind of bright here, and it falls off, gradations and dark shadows there. Practical light, soft rim light, that's your rim light. Fill light, background light, wall over here, so it's not completely dark. Okay. Yeah, some good stuff. Fundamental stuff. Okay. Yeah, they're copying the lighting. Alright. I guess, yeah, I'll move on. So, with that being said, I want to add a you could call it a bounce light. You see over here how it's pretty dark? Or no, you know what? I need my fill light. No, my key light. I need a key light, my main light. So, in 3D, in this shot, this is the key light. The sunlight is your key light. Right there. These nice colors. Anyway, I'm going to use, instead of the last class, I mentioned making a Maya directional light. But today, we're going to use Arnold area light. It's good to cover all tools. So I made an Arnold area light. Press R, scale it big, like that. In Arnold lights, the characteristics of the light also plays heavily to the size matters. The larger the light, the area light, the larger it is, the more soft and blurry and diffused the light that it throws will behave. So first things first, I scaled it a little bit bigger, like 31. But I need to remind everyone, this is the pointer. This is the pointer where it's aiming. I had students aiming it the wrong way, and you know, just defeats the whole purpose. Exposure. Also, I had students did not set the exposure. Let's set it to, I don't know, 1. No, 5. Let's set the exposure to 5. Intensity, you could leave it alone. The first semester, I had the students mess with the intensity, but this semester, after doing some more research and testing, it's best to just leave the intensity to 1 and only mess with the exposure. Keeps things more simple. Sample, set it to 2. That's the shadow quality. And I'm gonna go over this too after. Anyway, alright, so I'm gonna move it this way, move it this way, and pull it up a bit. I wonder if I can snap it. Press V as in Victor. No, it won't let me snap it. Oh, that's so annoying. It would so be easier to just snap it there. You know, I could just snap it there. Won't let me. There's more better ways to do this, but this is what we're gonna do. Just eyeball it. It's annoying I can't see it from behind. If I could see it from behind, it'd be awesome. I just gotta eyeball it. And you see how it's kind of, the controller is this way, but my objects is it's angled differently. This is called, the reason why it's doing this, where you see the object like this, but you see the controller like that, is because it's set to world. The controller is set to world, or the handles. You know, it's always gonna be X, Y, and Z right angles, because it's set to world, meaning the 3D world. Most students gonna get confused by that, but basically you want to set to local. That's under tool settings. Yeah, this is good to know. Tool settings is over here, right here. Looks like a hammer. Tool settings. This is your tool handles. Let's do something called set it to object. Boom. You see the difference? You see how it's aligned? See how it's aligned? Whereas before I had to guesstimate, because it's this. See that? This is set to world. A perfect right angle to the world's 3D space, which is a perfect right angle. You know, X, Y, and Z, 0, 0, 0. But now I can set my tool setting, which again is this guy right here, to object. The object's local orientation. See? This is his aimer, remember? That makes it easier. See? I can even rotate it now. And I'm gonna press R, and I'm just gonna scale this aimer and just stretch it, this right here. See that? See? Let's stretch it some more. Maybe press E. I'm gonna rotate it down. Boom. And then I'm gonna look outside, and then I'm gonna turn it this way and just aim it. See? I'm just looking like this. Maybe I'll just eyeball it some more, scoot it down so I get the center. Something like that. Let me see the channel box. Ooh, my rotations kind of went crazy, but it's fine. Right. Alright, let's see what that does. I'm going to select something in here, press F, so I can center and frame it, zoom in on it all at one time. Let's do a render. Maybe a bird's eye view, zoom in. Alright, here it is. I'm going to do, I don't need this. I'm gonna lock my camera, lock it so I don't move it. I'm gonna select my area light, attribute editor. I'm gonna turn off illumination by default. This is the basically on and off switch. I'm gonna do a render. Alright, so my computer just crashed on me, so I had to reset everything again. Anyway, so this is the sky dome light, my render, and my exposure is set to 1. I believe that's what I set it to. Before that I had it to 1.5. And then now this is a render without my key light, where my key light is simulating the sun direction that I placed a while ago. So this is before, and I'm gonna turn it on. But before that, I'm gonna turn off my interactive rendering. Alright, now I'm gonna turn it on. This is my area light. It's gonna act as my key light in the general direction of the sun. I just turned it on. My sample is set to 2 for the shadows. I'll set my exposure to 8. And I think this represents what the shader ball would look like when the area light is hitting it. Yeah. Alright, so I set it to 8. And maybe I'll set my color to more like a yellow. See if that does anything. Hopefully it won't crash my computer. Render. Ooh, I gotta pause it. Alright, so the render is done. It doesn't look like it did much at all. Alright, this means I have to set my exposure higher then. I'm gonna set it to 12. And this is exponential, meaning, it didn't go up by 4 points. It went up, a lot more than 4 points, a lot more from 8 to 12. It's not linear, it's exponential. So I'm gonna pause it. Alright, so I did some more testing, and I had to crank my exposure up to 20 because 10, 12, 15, 17, 18, 19, whatever, 20, up until a high number, it didn't do much. So before, after. So, it definitely did brighten this up. Over here too. So I had a big, and over here too. So it was really, yeah. So that was good. Alright, so that's that. I'm gonna change the camera angle, like maybe like this, something like that. Let's do a test render on all different angles. And the reason we do that is that in production, you never know what angles you're gonna have to end up shooting. So you wanna test all the angles to see if you got, fair to decent lighting from all angles. That's the reason why. So I wanna test this area behind here. And I adjusted it like this. Do another render and hopefully it won't crash. Alright, so here's the render, and the shadow is, it's developing a nice shape, nice shadows over here, but it's kind of dark. I think I could have some bounce lighting in here or fill lighting, and yeah, I'm pretty sure back here is gonna be dark. I did a lot of test renders before, so I'm gonna work on this to make a fill light from behind, or you could see it's a rim light. Yeah, backlight. The way we do that is I'm gonna lock this camera. This is my perspective. I'm gonna go panels, perspective. Oh, I already have a perspective 1. All right. Oh, but my perspective 1's. All right. Got my render view. I'm gonna press this one here, so I can see exactly what's gonna render, which is this guy right there. No, this guy. Yeah, this one right here, and then this one. You get both of that there. All right. Yeah. Actually, I don't need this for this one. This is just gonna be my camera for moving, but for my render cam, I'm gonna set this up again. Anyway, Arnold lights, area light. Press R, scale it big, like this much. Press W, pull it up. See the aimer? I'm gonna press E as in Edward, and I'm gonna hold down J as in Jacob, so I can snap, 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 and turn. Let go. That way I have a perfect 180 turn. Pull it back. Here's my aimer. Press R. Just gonna put some more so I can make it obvious for the students. I'm gonna do it like this. Make it wider so that the light will catch all of this here up to here. Maybe even some more. But I have to remind that when I make it wider and wider, it becomes more and more diffused and less concentrated, which is fine for fill light. And all right, I'm gonna place it here on purpose. I'm gonna set my exposure to what, 8? Or yeah, samples to 2. Do I want to cast shadows? Yeah, why not? Alright, so I'm going to do a render. Alright, so here's the render, and just as I thought, you see this, it made a nice fill area for the shadow, but made this line, which I did on purpose. I'm pretty sure students will encounter this. That's because this light, you know, it's interacting with the shadow, causing this unsightly effect. So I'm gonna guesstimate how long this is, how much more I should push back. Maybe around there. Pull this over here and do another render. Already saved it. We'll do another render, pause it. Alright, so here it is. Much nicer, even believable. Here's before. See how dark it is? You know, before, like, if you don't do the comparison, you think this is fine, you know, but after you notice and you're like, wow, this adds more believability, you know. And also, let me zoom in over here. This is a before, okay. After, it gives a nice backlight. See that little thing? And even the grass too. So this you know, the fill lights add to, you know, not just visually it makes it look better, but it fakes global illumination more better, because global illumination only does so much, because then afterwards, like over here, you have to force it by adding fill lights. Yeah, so but you see how this one has a cutoff? Over is bright, but now it's less. That's because we pulled the the area light back and lost its energy. Yeah, its influence, because it has a fall off. They call it a quadratic fall off, where from here up to a certain distance, the light impacts the surface dramatically, but as you pull it more and more away, it falls off. The energy falls off when it makes when you pull it back. They call it a quadratic fall off. Anyway, so there's that. Before, rough cut. After, much nicer. I'm gonna save it. Before and now, much nicer. Other thing too, there's something called soft edge. It's hard to describe what this does, but all I know is it makes my shadows look better, so I'm going to crank it up to 1. That's all I know. It looks better. I did several tests. But I don't know how I'm going to show it here. All I know is that it works and it's good. Soft edge. The shadow soft edge set to 1. And then the reason why I'm kind of hesitant about this one is that this is a rim light. But for the main light, it makes a difference as well. You know what? Let me turn that on. Soft edge. So I turned it on for both of them. Okay. The area light, the soft edge to 1. The sky dome light does not have this option. So I'm going to do a render. Alright, so this is before without the soft edge, where this soft edge was set to 0. Now, after, with the soft edge set to 1 on my main area light that is faking the direction of the sun, as well as my rim light, soft edge to 1. You know what, let me name this rim light. Let me name this key light. Alright, so yeah, you went from this to this. So it has more. See, I'll take it. On closer up shots, it's more dramatic, the difference is. Alright, so I got my rim light. I want to now do a bounce light, where I'm gonna put a area light right underneath going up, so I can illuminate this area here, and here, and hopefully I won't blow out the scene. So in order to do that, I'm going to make another Arnold lights area light. Press R, scale it like so. It's facing this way. Pull on the blue box so I can do that, so you can see it better. Press E as in Edward, press J as in Jacob, and hold J as in Jacob, and snap rotate to a perfect angle looking up. Alright, so I guess I wanted some more because it's only up to here. Press R, pull on the red scale, so it's that much. Yeah, maybe some more. And maybe I'll go Set my exposure to 8. And I'll maybe give a warm color. Something like that, maybe. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. Soft edge, I'll crank it to 1. Samples to 2. I mean, it's a bounce light. It will act as a bounce light and as a fill light in a way, you know. But so it doesn't necessarily need to cast shadows, but it has a different look between cast shadows on and off. But I'll just leave it on for now, even though logically it wouldn't make sense to turn it on. But cast shadow seems to help it from blowing out the scene, you know. Anyway, because you know that's what I mean by cast shadows. Like, why would a light bouncing up why would it cast shadows? You know, because I'm trying to fake a fill light and fake a bouncing light, so it shouldn't cast shadows if you're faking bounce lights. Anyway, but I leave it on and let's just see how it looks. Anyway, so okay, so anyway, here it is. Exposure to 8, the color. Soft edge to 1, samples to 2. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna hit pause. Alright, I forgot one thing. This light, I need to have it so that this cube is not blocking this light. Like that this cube is not blocking that this cube's influence is not getting the way of this light, because this light is literally underneath the cube. So there's this thing called light linking that I discussed in my first semester students. Windows, relationship editors, light linking. Again, Windows, relationship editors, light linking, light centric. Why isn't this thing not Windows, relationship editors, light linking, light centric? Why is this not change the name? What the hell? I thought I changed the name. Here's my key light. Why isn't this not changed to key light? Annoying. Rim light, bounce and fill light. Super annoying. Alright, my bounce and fill light. Light source, bounce and fill light, illuminated objects. I do not want it to illuminate my MicroWorld cube because it's going to block its way. And I also have this thing here is a mud patch. I made a little patch of mud to break up the surface more. I don't need that to block the path of my light. So I'm going to undo that and unhighlight that. Anything that's highlighted means it's being illuminated by my bounce and fill light. So I'm going to do my render now. Okay. So here's my bounce / fill light before, after. Before, after. Before, before, after. Before, after, before, after, before, after, before, after, before, after, before, after. Yep. All right, so I'm okay with that. Kind of like the red tone it gives. I kind of want to maybe experiment and give this a red color. There's so much blue. I want to experiment. I'm going to do that actually. I'm going to pause it. All right. So I changed the color to more warmer color, even though it looks kind of pinkish. And I made exposure to 9. Before it was 8. And this is before, after. So I like the warmer color it's giving here, but the shadow now looks ugly. See? Like the flowers. You know, has a warm color to it. And the log, like I mentioned. But this here, I mean, what I could do is unlink it where the backlight is not affecting my my floor, but then my floor won't have this nice gradation anymore, and it'll go back to looking like this. But I could make one rim light just to affect the floor, to make it a soft effect with the shadow here, and I could make another rim light that only affects my MicroWorld cube, the flowers, and the log, if I wanted to. But for this project I won't, because it will take too long. Yeah, but just saying, that's what you could do with light linking. So for now, I'm gonna undo it. Okay. Let me just double check something. All right. Now, and so I got that and that. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna make a copy of it. Rim light 1, and I'm gonna name it rim light left. Rim light left. And I'm gonna have it rotate off of here like a like a door. And I'm going to do that by manipulating its pivot point. Press D as in David one time. And I'm going to grab this handle since I've activated my move pivot. When I pressed D as in David, that activated the move pivot. I'm going to grab it, eyeball it right there. Maybe bring it back right there. Press E as in Edward to get out of it. And now I can pivot it like a door. Alright, I taught this in my other semester. And negative 140. Okay. And then let me look at my attribute editor. Alright. And this one, I'm gonna make a copy of this one. Control D. I'm gonna name it rim light right. I'm gonna chuck it to the side. Press D as in David, which activates my move pivot point. I'm gonna carefully grab this red handle, eyeball it towards here. Make sure I'm not moving anything. Zoom in a bit, take a good look. Maybe I'll nitpick and put it right there. Alright. Good. Yeah. I press W to get out of it. Press E to go into rotation mode. I'm just gonna rotate it like that. Let's set this to around here. My rotation should be 140. Right, yeah, 140. Yeah, so this was negative 140. This is 140. You see how this thing is now moving like that? Just a quick reminder, that is because it's set to local, meaning the local axis of this object. And if I go back here, no, under here, the hammer, which is a tool setting, and just to quickly review, set to world. Again, perfect example of the world setting. The zero coordinate here, which is 0, 0, 0, which makes for perfect right angle, versus object. This may or may not come in handy for you right now, but later it will 100%. So it's good to know where this is. Hammer tool. Just gonna nitpick and move it over here. That's the reason why I made that right now. So I can be in the world axis. So I can make a perfect across. Alright. Okay, I really want to make that a warm color. I'll make it a warm color. Like that. Click on the color wheel. That. Yeah. I don't care. I'm gonna make that a warm color too. Just, yeah. My instincts tell me make it warm. I don't care if it's making that. Okay, I'm gonna pause it. Alright, so here's the render, but this is without those extra fill lights making influence. The only thing is this light, which I made it back to being warm. which you can notice here. But yeah, I had to do this first to get a before and after. So here's my before. Save it. Now I gotta go back here. Turn on illuminates by default. The other rim light, the right one. Illuminate by default, turn it on. Now I'm gonna do the render again. Alright, so here's the result. Before, after. So as you can see, before, after. Before, after. So before it's pretty dark. After, so it fills in the area. And I got my little ambient occlusion, making a nice contact shadow here. I could make it probably even a little bit brighter if I wanted to. But yeah, you know what? Let me do that then. Yeah, I like that. Well, before I do that, I want to discuss something called the denoiser. So there's this thing called a denoiser. I mentioned to the class that on the Mac machines, it doesn't seem to work, which is true. But there's three types. There's a denoiser optics. Anyhow, the denoisers, these things, it helps to clean up all the noise. So there's three kinds. Denoiser optics. This is a technology that NVIDIA, the major graphics card company, which also does artificial intelligence, which NVIDIA is also a smart chip producer. They're really powerful enough that the United States government banned them from selling semiconductor chips to China. So yeah, NVIDIA is like no joke. But so they developed this thing called denoiser optics. I believe it also uses artificial intelligence to help clean up the noise. But since the Mac computers do not use NVIDIA graphics card, that's the reason why it doesn't work. And then denoiser Oiden is produced by Intel. Is it Intel? I forgot who. And then denoiser Noice, noise. I think that one is just default CPU denoiser. Anyway, but this may work. Denoiser noise. It may work on the Mac. So I'm gonna turn that on. I'll be surprised if it works on the Mac. Alright. Here is a denoiser. Hopefully it'll work on the Macs. Like I said, it's the denoiser Noice. Why does this say AI? This is not Arnold. Wait a minute. Anyhow, see the difference? Ugly noise, no noise. So yeah, I think I'll test this out in school. But yeah, just denoiser noise. This should work. I mean, if it's default CPU based regardless, you know, because Macs use a totally different computer processor called ARM. Intel is the other computer processor. But this one should not be. This is Arnold's default denoiser. So this is NVIDIA. This is Intel. This is Arnold's denoiser. So, I mean, it should work. You just never know with Macs. Anyway, the whole point is that to get this quality of no noise, you'd have to go into the render settings. You'd have to crank this to like 10. The camera AA, you know, and then you'd probably have to crank maybe the diffuse up as well. And on my computer, these are the lowest settings. And on my computer that took well, it takes about 50 seconds. But on the school computers, probably takes about what, 5 minutes? Yeah, probably 6 minutes per render, I'm assuming, on a small image like this. But theoretically, with the denoiser, you know, it should take you whatever time it would take to get rid of this on a Mac. It's cut down dramatically because you're using low settings. So you'd have before where you had to crank it to 10, which will increase the render times tremendously. Now you can still leave it to 4 and get the quality of a 10 settings. If that makes sense. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. And yeah, this is pretty much it for the lighting and rendering. I'm gonna post this tomorrow, and this will be tomorrow's lesson. I'm gonna bring this into class. I'm gonna do something to it so that, you know, I'm gonna just make it into a flat shader. I'm gonna hand it to the class so they can follow along. All right, bye bye.